First John 2, verse 29. If you know that he is righteous, you may be sure that everyone who practices righteousness has been born of him. John is using a new word here in this epistle. This is the first time he's used this. He'll use it more frequently between now and the end of the book. I think a total of 10 times John will use this word born. When we think about being born in the works of John, our minds ought to go pretty quickly to John 3, where John meets with Nicodemus and numerous times says, "You must be born again to enter the kingdom of heaven," and then explains what it means to be born again of the Spirit and not of the flesh. And so Jesus explains all of that in John chapter 3. He says, "If you know," who's the you? Again, this is the church. And so this is the church. "If you know, knowledge, that he, Jesus, is righteous." Okay, well, yes, believers, we understand that Jesus is righteous. Then you, church, may be sure, there's some certainty, that everyone who practices righteousness has been born of him. This idea of practice here, this is not what we're when we use the word practice, we think of sports practices or band practice or something to that effect. This is a habit. John is using the word to describe a daily occurrence, a routine or regular occurrence, a habitual practice. So something that we do on a regular basis. And he will later use this word to describe sin, and again, we'll talk about it there. But right now, he's saying that if you practice righteousness, so it does not mean that you are perfectly righteous. So we're not looking at a state of perfection. Okay, this is not. We're not talking about perfection right now. Okay, on a regular, routine basis, you are habitually doing righteous. You are doing right. So your lifestyle, okay, your life is characterized by righteousness. Okay, and so this is in contrast to one who would practice sin, or whose life or lifestyle would be characterized by habitual sinning, ongoing sinning. Again, this is not to say that you don't sin. Okay, people who practice righteousness can still sin and do still sin because we have not yet been glorified. We're not yet in a sinless state of perfection. So we still sin, but in general, our life is characterized by righteousness. That is an indicator, an indication of who has actually been born of the one who is righteous, and that is Jesus. So that's a sort of a test that we can apply to our own lives. John has several tests in this epistle: test of fellowship, test of authentic belief in Christ, authentic faith in Christ, life in Christ. This is one of those tests. So, do you practice righteousness? Are you one whose life is described as, characterized as, generally being a person of righteousness? A godly life might be another way that we would look at that. So, that's just a little test that you can apply to your own life. One more idea that we want to look at here on this idea of being born of Him and practicing righteous, we look like who our Father is. In the next verse, John will refer to us as children of God, which he's done before, and he calls us again children of God, talking about the family of God. And we will see that we don't look like our Father when we don't practice righteous. When we are sinning, we don't resemble who our Father actually is. And so in John chapter 8, I think it's John 8:44, he speaks of to the Pharisees that their father is not actually God and it's not Abraham, but that their father is the devil. And so, you guys, we're gonna reflect who our dad actually is. We're gonna look like our Father, and so by practicing righteousness, that's how we in fact look like our Father.